Welcome y'all to the VRNation Station. We're diving deep into vacation rental sensations. From
Oh,
management
looks like we're
tips to
kicking
the
off again,
latest
folks.
creation.
Welcome to the
Join us
VR
as we
Nation
leave us a
Station.
spark of
Jamie Hansen.
conversation.
We are the voice of vacation rental professionals. So today's topic, for those that don't know, we are going to be meeting with a few of our VR Nation directors from different parts of the country. And what we're going to talk about are a couple of really interesting topics. So we're going to talk about ADR, occupancy rate, RevPAR, how things have been looking for the winter in the different locations. As you can see behind me, I'm from Cabino, so we are Yellowstone National Park area. We'll talk about, what things are looking like for the rest of the year, rest of the summer, in reference between 25 and 24. And then ultimately anything that we're doing to spark a positive change, right? It's always interesting to pick brains of other people. So what I'd like to be able to do is I'd like to introduce some of my very good friends. I'll start with Dana Moraru. She's a national director, and she owns Tahoe Signature Properties in Lake Tahoe, California. Welcome, Dana.
Thank you, Jamie.
Awesome. Next, I'll invite John Pickard to join us. Now, John Pickard owns Beach Nest Vacation Rentals, VRNation director as well. And John, I want to say it's Santa Cruz, but it's not Santa Cruz. Where are you located?
You nailed it, Santa Cruz.
Oh, I'm right. Look at that. You guess you can be right or wrong. And then finally, last but not least, is Blake McKenzie. Now, Blake is a good friend of mine. He is a VRNation director as well. And he is at EMR Vacation Rentals in Victoria, British Columbia. So we have our northern friends. We'll speak a little bit about how things are going for them as well. So welcome, everyone. Appreciate you joining us today on the podcast. I kind of butchered a little bit of the intro because we have a new song and I'm not quite used to it. But I thought it was a little catchy jingle. I liked it. What do you guys think? Is it good?
Yeah, it's good.
I liked it. It's a good song.
Well, awesome. So you guys heard the topic for today. We're going to talk a little bit about how things are shaping up. I know how things are going for me, but I don't like hearing myself talk. So why don't we pick it up and just see how our friends in the Cascades are doing? Dana, how are things going? I thought I heard you guys got some 5 feet of snow, but I don't know how it looks in Tahoe. So how are things going out there?
It would have been nice, 5 feet of snow. Unfortunately, we got quite a bit of rain instead of snow, but it finally started snowing today. It was 45 degrees outside, so it didn't quite turn into snow. Hopefully tonight and then into tomorrow that we catch up and get some white stuff on the ground because we need it. That's as far as weather. Now, how is our market up here looking? So we've had so far a great winter. No complaints there. On par with 2024. Holidays are great. January was all right, but mostly due to not having snow, right? So it wasn't as booked up as February is shaping up to be. This coming weekend, we're full house. Over President's Day and Ski Skate Week, we're a full house. So looking good as far as that goes. ADR is a little bit lower than what we've seen last year. Not by much, but we had to drop rates a little bit. And then occupancy rates looking good as far as February, looking good March, April, all the way into June. Summer, we're a little behind compared to where we were last year at this time. So we're going to start working on that a little bit and start pushing some summer advertising probably. But yeah, other than that, it's looking good so far. We'll see how things shape up moving forward.
Got it. Well, that's good. I was curious. I'm glad you guys are doing at least on par. I am interested in hearing a little more about beaches, though, John. So I'm looking at your picture. It does look really beautiful there. How are things in the beaches as far as the demand and market going?
Yeah, so that's we're doing great in Santa Cruz. I would say, for us, wintertime is kind of our slow months. We actually did have a good beginning of January, but then as more snow falls in the Sierra Mountains, a lot of our travelers, I just push them that way towards Dana and say, go to Tahoe, go ski, go have some fun. And so we share a lot of the same guests. We're very close to each other. And so I know that in the winter, when Tahoe's having a good year, a lot of our guests go to Tahoe, which is great. And then it also allows our owners to come in and stay in the houses down here. And we have quite a few owners in house right now, which is it's nice. It's getting us to get along on some projects that we've been needing to get to before the season starts. Given said that, we have some good February traffic, and I think we have a very good spring traffic. I think spring break is going to be extended this year due to Easter being in late April. And so spring break is going to start probably about the middle of March and run through the end of April. And I'm already doing very good. I was just looking at some numbers before I came on with you. And so, my ADR is actually up like $72, which is good compared to last year. This time it was down. So I'm very happy about that. Summer's pacing along quite nicely. So I'm looking at about 70% occupied now, so we'll be 100% by the time it rolls around. So I'm good. Everything's great.
Wow, that's an impressive report out, John. I don't hear that very often, man. I got to call you more. Awesome, Blake. How are things rolling up in Canada? I mean, I know you're Western Canada, BC, Victoria, Vancouver-ish area. How are things shaping up for you guys? I know you have a lot of regulations that have come in.
Yeah, things are shaping up, I would say, in the most difficult manner. Last year, we actually had a pretty good year. We had one of our better years, even under the new, what they call the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act that was introduced by our provincial government in 2023, but didn't come into effect until May 1st last year. Probably helped us, which helped our ADR numbers go up just because there was less inventory to compete with. So if you had a legal property, you're going to do much better than the ones that were disappearing, that were illegally unlicensed type properties. But this year, the provincial government has now launched the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act registration component. Now they are requiring all short-term rentals to register provincially, which is going to thin out the herd even further. So we're projecting right now that, it's hard. A lot of people are a little nervous to book right now. So our ADR numbers are actually down for projection into this summer, which is our high season. It is our slow season right now in the winter where we're located on Vancouver Island. Essentially, I think guests are concerned about booking into properties for the summer that may be deemed illegal and have to be taken down. So there is some real cautionary tales there, but overall, our booking pace is, even with that in place, is still looking very similar to 2024 at this time. So there hasn't been any much growth. I could say our ADRs have stayed consistent to this time last year in 2024. So, but we're optimistic that once the STR regulation, the registration component is completed by May 1st, that's when everyone has to do it. It should stabilize the market and people feel more confident booking into those properties.
Got it. So quick question for you guys. Have you seen anything from I'll drop a few names here for you. So last year, we all know VRBO took a small hiatus in their marketing, right? And oftentimes when I talk to property managers, there's always this qualification of, am I talking about homeowner acquisition or am I talking about guests? And of course, we're talking about guests from our market perspective. But where the two meet, right, is the supply differences. So in Idaho, for example, especially up by us, we have almost close to double the amount of Airbnb supply that we do VRBO supply, right? So when I look at the fact that VRBO cut down their marketing as much as they had, they really did not shine. But a lot of our properties are more of a VRBO flare than an Airbnb flare where we're at. Have you guys seen anything like that? I mean, are you guys seeing an uptick on one or the other, or any other, especially around the DIY folks? I mean, I know their worlds are really rocking right now.
I could answer to that because I'm on quite a few Facebook groups with RBOs on it who, the do-it-yourselfers. And yeah, the complaints have been ongoing for some time about the lack of bookings coming in. But I have to say, out of the OTAs that have really increased the booking percentages of what we see, because essentially we were one of the latecomers getting connected to Airbnb. We didn't want to be connected to Airbnb because of the merchant of record issue, but we ended up connecting them in 2020. And this past year was the first year Airbnb surpassed VRBO in our bookings. I'd never seen that before, but they're definitely up there. And by a slight margin, but they are essentially what most people use, especially in our market. I would say, I think we can tell by the Google search data that Airbnb is now the top searched keywords when people are looking for vacation homes. Matter of fact, I don't even think they call them vacation homes anymore. They look for Airbnbs, which drives us all crazy.
Right. Yeah.
But it's been a big
John, how's that work in your area? Are you the same as Blake then? I mean, your proximity on the coastlines aren't that far away. Are you seeing something similar for you, or is it more VRBO? I mean, I just know what I see on a daily, and it seems to be a different mix than a lot of areas.
Cruz here. We're just a little bit off of Bevel down here. So in our market, VRBO is actually quite a bit stronger than Airbnb, and it always has been. Has Airbnb been gaining some market share? Yes, it has. But we have always been more VRBO centric. It's 37% of my bookings is through them. I got about 12% through Airbnb, and then I have a very strong book direct. I'm over 50% with my book direct. But I am one of those unique markets. I was just talking to a friend of mine down in San Diego who has a company and manages a little over 100 units, and he's saying that Airbnb actually surpassed VRBO this year. So now I'm in Northern California. Santa Cruz is up by the Bay Area. San Diego's, they're about 500 miles south of me, 450 miles south. So they're a little ways down there. But it was interesting to note, he's like, yes, Airbnb actually overtook VRBO this year. So I know they're tackling the West Coast, and they're trying to gain market share. I find it interesting, though, that they're headquartered out of San Francisco, and I am 40 miles south of San Francisco on the coast, and they're weak in this market. So I was curious about that. They're weak in their own backyard, but as you get farther out into different areas, they become stronger.
That's interesting. Dana, how about you? I mean, I know you're another mountain.
About 2 years ago, Airbnb for us was at about 17%. Last year, they came up to about 30%. Now, this year, they are definitely surpassing VRBO, unfortunately.
Wow. Okay.
Our direct bookings are still above either one of them, but it's interesting to see Airbnb taking off for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't really talk about the national park stuff yet as far as the demand. We are seeing, interestingly enough, when I look at how like Cabino is operating versus our market, like we've actually been outgaming the market. We did it in 2024. We're doing it again in 2025. Which leads me to some questions for you guys about just measures and things that you've taken to really, and John, especially with the numbers of direct book. I mean, we just had our direct booking day yesterday, but from a demand perspective, we're seeing an uptick for the summer. Island Park historically is not a winter heavy location, but because we finally got snow last year, we didn't get any snow. So there's nowhere to snowmobile. It's a big snowmobiling mecca. Now we're up, we're up almost 8% occupancy from last year. March, we're still struggling with a bit. April, we're struggling with a bit, but those are what we call the mud seasons. Not a lot of people can get in and out unless you have four-wheel drive and chains. But ultimately, it's one of those where we look at the different things that you can do in Island Park. It's actually behaving a little bit better above what 2025 was. And the summer is going to look pretty good. Last year, our summer was very solid. We were in the high 70s, low 80s for June, July, August for occupancy. So it was a good summer for us last year for sure. We're hoping we're going to see the same, if not maybe a little bit more growth. Our mix, even though we have a lot more supply of Airbnbers, our own personal mix is we still get more VRBO, right? Because the Airbnb is going to be generally our smaller cabins up in our area of the Rockies. a lot of do-it-yourself folks that are putting their stuff out there. They're not getting a lot of marketing exposure. They're not getting they don't do any revenue management, so they're kind of doing their best guess on pricing. The lead times are amazingly short. And I don't know about you guys, but the lead times for us are under 30 days for the vast majority of bookings, even for week-long bookings. It's almost though like the consumer has learned, like I can hold off and wait until the last minute and make a decision and still find a good property to go to because there's still more supply than the demand negotiates. So that's really affected us. But that's just from a Yellowstone and Grand Targhee west of the Grand Tetons area. It's not necessarily ski. It's more snowmobile and just backcountry. So that's kind of my report on our market activity. Yellowstone's looking to, and I'm knocking on wood, because every time I say Yellowstone's looking to really make a huge uptake, then some natural disaster occurs. Like it has in the last 2 years between flooding and then the pass caving away. But Yellowstone's looking solid. I'm a lot of great indicators coming out of Yellowstone as far as visitors that are going to be. They're expecting growth in visitors this year. I've also seen that down in the Smokies. I've also seen that down at Zion. So national parks, it's still a long-standing discussion. Is that whenever there's an economy that's kind of not necessarily up or down, but whether it's somewhere in the middle, national parks generally take off. So we've seen a lot of that continue. So that's our report from Camino. I didn't want to forget about that. But I'm interested in hearing what you guys have each done to spark bookings. Like John, you're saying like you're over 50% book direct. I mean, I definitely want to learn about what you're doing. And then as far as Blake and Dana, you guys are still saying you're getting a similar back. Like, what are you guys doing to stay consistent?
So that's a great question. A lot of that is time for me. I've spent a lot of time over the last 8 or 9 years building my book direct, building up my list of followers that follow Beach Nest, that subscribe to our newsletter. We have over 6,000 people that subscribe to our newsletter. So for those people, we throw out specials that are right now. We're doing stay 3 nights, 2 nights to get the third night for free. All right, so we run a winter special like that. Then in the spring break time, we do a lot of other different promotions that attract the spring break people. Because spring breakers, what we try to focus on with them is, how get the length of stay up as well, right? So we'll run another promotion in spring break. Come stay 4 nights to get the 5th night for half off. Trying to get them to stay 5 nights kind of situation. But mostly it's just been developing your loyal customer base and doing something for them when they come back, right? Giving them a 10% discount, whatever have you. Get them within your sphere and then market to them. I recall, I'm going to say this was back in like 18 or 19 when Book Direct was really had a lot of speed and gained a lot of attraction. And in the property management world. And we would have discussions and sessions at conferences that were like, utilize VRBO and Airbnb as a lead source, but make sure you can capture that information of that guest, and so you can get them into your bank. Now, Airbnb and VRBO are consistently making that more difficult as time goes on. They do not want you to get the information of the individuals, and we all know that. But there's ways around it, and there will always be ways around it, because once the guest is in-house, you can always reach out to them directly and say, hey, we'd like to give you a coupon to go down and get 10% off at a paddleboard or whale watching or something like that. So we do those kind of things as well. But mostly just take care of the guests and tell them, if you come back and stay with Beach Nest, we'll give you discounts and we'll do things for you.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Dana, what do you do? I'm just curious, because I'm going to steal it.
So what John said in the beginning, that it takes years to get your database working for you, I guess. We are about the same, probably about 6,000 subscribers. And being consistent with the email marketing, number one. Obviously, in those emails, there's a lot of work and thought put towards what blog posts are we going to advertise when, how, So timing, definitely offering incentives, either book direct and get 10% off, stay 3 nights, get one free, whatever the case might be, stay 7 nights, get a coupon, whatever the case is. They love those things. We've had since forever probably thank you coupon code for returning customers. It's front and center in all the communication with the guests. So once we got them from Airbnb or VRBO, we make sure that we have their email on file, and we make sure that they're aware that when they come back, they're going to get a discount directly through us. The other part is keeping communication with them. So one thing that we like to do is taking them off platform. We don't like to communicate inside Airbnb or VRBO. A couple days before arrival, we send them a text. Here's your information. Morning of, after they spend the night with us, we check in with them. Hey, how was your first night? We're here for you. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns. It opens, again, it lets them know we're here. When they depart, so in doing that, guests tend to like texting these days, right? So all the communication will happen via text. There's a handful that stay on Airbnb for that. And then when they depart, same thing. Thanks for staying with us. Here's a link, leave us a review. Remember to use your returning guest discount and book with us again. So keeping that message front and center definitely helps. And we see a lot of people coming back for sure. And sometimes they come back, they forget to use their coupon. We will apply it for them and let them know, hey, just so you know, we did this for you. People are grateful for that. So it just creating that and building that trust and building that relationship is very important.
That's excellent. That's really, really great. Blake, how about you? I'm just curious. I mean, you have Canadian and American visitors, right? I mean, I think we all have internationals, but what's the majority of the visitors? Is it mostly Canadian folks coming to stay with you, or is it US?
Yeah, it is now, just over shifting changes in our almost 21-year history in operation. And it's really been dependent on the economy globally, in a lot of ways. So when the Canadian dollar was riding high after the downturn in 2008 and, we were at par, then we lost a lot of our US travelers. And now with the Canadian dollar sitting around 68, 69 cents, we get a lot more US visitors to the market. The only thing that's changed for us is much like what you're talking about, to get that repeat direct bookings. Pretty much both what John and Dana had described as something we do as well. We try and find ways to get rebook techniques by our guests that are in-house, especially if they've come from an OTA. I mean, that's when you've got a captured audience. You can advertise. The other one I think we had looked at together as an association a few years ago is just putting fridge magnets on with a QR code to book again. Anything that just kind of connect with the guests at every possible touch point where it's busy, and fridges are really busy. People go to the fridge all the time. But yeah, that constant communication, doing a little extra for them. Maybe it's a gift basket, maybe it's a discount. It's highly competitive. It's been in business for 20 years and, before Airbnb existed, and it's become a lot more competitive. And it's just because there's a lot of RBOs that can really price below you, and it became a race to the bottom. But you have to show that you provide not just great places to stay, but top of tier customer service. You have to be available. You have to be providing ideas and experiences that you can promote to your clients to keep them coming back. People who want to come to Vancouver Island really have to want to come here, because either got to come by boat, on a ferry, which is an added cost now, which is almost the equivalent of a single night at a moderately sized vacation home for a family of 4 to take a ferry here and back, or you got to fly here. That's your choices. So we're not as far as Hawaii, but you're still on an hour and a half ferry ride from Washington State or from Vancouver, British Columbia. So that plays a big part where people are making their decision if they're going to come back to you or not, or they're going to go to a different market that's maybe a more of an easier drive to. So with Seattle and Portland and Vancouver, British Columbia are key markets where we get the repeat customers coming from there, and a little bit out of Alberta, Canada. So, but yeah, right now it's pretty domestic. And we're probably going to see even more Canadians this year just because of that dollar exchange issue.
Sure. Sure, because they'll be
That's-
staying in
that's-
Canada, not coming across then, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and Americans get an automatic almost 30+% discount on their travel here right off their currency. And of course, we can promote the book direct and say book direct and save even a further 15 to 30%, depending on what
Americans
OTA.
save 60% if you go to Canada.
Yeah,
Give Blake a call. Dollar goes further here. I get it. No, that I get it. Yeah, I poke fun, but it's it's one of those where it's definitely tough. I mean, we are obviously we're by Yellowstone, right? So we have tons of international travelers, especially in the summer. The hard part for us is that the source of our guests is fairly unique, right? It's mostly Salt Lake, right? So Idaho, Utah. We have a very strong demographic. Island Park is not very well known around the world, right? It's not a Tahoe, right? It's not California beaches, right? So people aren't necessarily really aware of all the cool things that you can do here, other than maybe Yellowstone, right? And of course the geyser, right behind me. So marketing has been unique for us because it's we also have about a 6,000. It actually might be more, but I think it's like 8,000, but 8,000 guest list that we mail to, our blog traffic and everything else. It's a curious mixture because as we come through, I think I'll take some pages out of your guys' book because, what I'm finding as well is that engagement within the customer experience, like Dana, like you're saying, like understanding what message hits with Airbnb, with VRBO, with direct bookings, how that messaging is happening. What, is it a text message? What does the text message say? What emotion does it elicit out of that guest? Does it make them excited about showing up, or does it give them anxiety because they can't read a 16 paragraph email? Those are the little things that kind of set the tone. And it's very ironic. I just had a meeting with my team today about it, is that it's those types of messaging that set the tone with guests. So when your guest experience is all of a sudden, along the line of how they get there. I booked. How do I feel about booking? I paid a lot of money for this. Am I anxious? I paid a lot of money for something. Did the listing show me what I bought? Does it really represent? And so by the time I show up, I'm already got a laundry checklist of, am I getting them value for what I have? Did they lie to me? Did they tell me everything? So on and so forth. So like Dana, what you're saying is, pinpoint that information and drop it at the key points of their journey so they know, like, hey, I'm pulling up. Here's my key code. I don't have to search for it. I don't have to look for it. It's right there in my text message. If my phone is out of reception, I can just scroll back and look at it. Key code works. What I'm telling my team is we're going to do follow-up in-person calls. Or not in-person, but phone calls, right? So the next morning, maybe not the night of, because they'll be busy. People are frazzled. Maybe they need time to unpack and have a drink and sit down and relax for a little bit, maybe catch some dinner. And by the time they're all done with that, it's bedtime. But the next morning, maybe they're sitting on the back deck looking at the mountains, sipping coffee. That's not a bad time to give them a call and just say, hey, how did everything go for you? Is it working out? You guys, is there anything you need? Anything we can do? We want to earn a 5-star review from you. And at the same time, if the guest comes back and says, man, this is great. Everything up to date this is perfect. This is above and beyond. The pitch of, we would really appreciate a 5-star review, then gets a quick follow-up to John's point of, Monday is actually available. If you'd like to book or stay another day or 2 days, we'd be willing to give, knock 20% off. And just that pitch right there. And of course, if all of a sudden the call goes south and the guest's like, yeah, this sucks. I came in, the heater wasn't working, we will have somebody on the spot right away. And we'll make sure that we bring like a gift basket or hot cocoa or something that just kind of shows like, hey, we're really sorry about the inconvenience, and try and save that review as much as possible. So yeah, timely conversation. I thought it was really interesting. Any question we can ask you guys, like anything else you want to just talk about that you think is pertinent to the topic?
Along the lines of what you were saying about taking care of the guests, I'm looking at the 4 of us here and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, Blake, about your area, but I'm fairly certain for Jamie's and Dana's and myself, the people that come stay with us are outdoor enthusiasts, right? They come to Santa Cruz because they like to go to the beach. They like to go surfing. We have great golf courses around here, some of the best in the United States. We have what's very, very good mountain biking around here. Great hiking, redwoods. It's just it's a great place for outdoor enthusiasts to come. Tahoe's the same way. I used to live in Tahoe, so I know there's great hiking. They have great things to do in the summer, wonderful winter activities. You talked about Island Park being snowmobiles. So it's a different type of marketing when you're marketing to outdoor enthusiasts as opposed to people that maybe might want to go to the city for cultural experiences and going to the theater or going out to nice fancy dinners and this and that. So I'd be curious to know how if there's anything you do that's different just to market to outdoor enthusiasts.
We do a lot of that. Obviously, Vancouver Island is very similar to everything you described. It's a very outdoor, enthusiast-oriented region. I mean, we're West Coast, rainforest, mountains, snow cap. Even got a couple, 3 different ski hills here. So you can golf. You can hike, bike, mountain bike, mountaineering, has all those features here. So we do a lot of marketing through blog posts that we create. We have at least 4 new blog posts a month that we post up, and they cover different topics, from hiking to, as I said, all those kinds of adventures you could do to, what you can do in the local, the top breakfast restaurants, and we'll talk about rock hounding in the area, or different things different interests that people have in your market. So we've done a lot investing in the blog posts, and they've actually helped drive a fair bit of traffic to our website, which has helped convert into book direct. So think about that when you're doing that side of it. And you don't have to spend a lot, but take those blog posts, put them up on Facebook and Instagram, and pay a little money to get that sponsored. And it's funny how many people will click on those articles and read it, and then make sure you have within your content there that it provides links to how to book, and stay in the accommodations in the area, and that really helps. That you can do that a lot. That's what we've done to kind of cover what you mentioned, John, to sort of promote those attributes to your region.
Yeah,
people love those kinds of enthusiasts.
We do the same thing. Blogs, when surf contests come up, or just last week we had the AT&T, that kind of stuff, golf tournament down at Pebble Beach. So yeah, what do you do, Jamie?
Well, it's an interesting discussion because Idaho is a very interesting state. We're not very populated, so it's tough. There's not a lot of business there. What we've looked at, especially because we're not just in Idaho, we're in Wyoming and Tennessee and Utah, is that we work back with an experiential marketplace to kind of help us with identifying things for our guests to do. So, for example, we work with Scouted.com, and Scouted works back with different vendors in the area so that, what I tell my team, for example, if a guest calls and says, I'm coming into Knoxville, never been there, what should I do? Right. And then all of a sudden the vendor, the PM is on the hook to go, well, you could go to Joe's Market, right? Well, Joe's Market closed down last year. You didn't know that, right? So now you're sending a guest somewhere. It doesn't really breed a good experience. But the great thing about Scouted.com is I can look on it and I can see in real time, do they have availability? So I can say, oh, well, you know what? If you go to Bob's Paddleboards, I can see right now online that Bob's got availability. You guys are coming the 8th through the 11th. They've got availability every single day. If you'd like to book something, you should probably take a look at that. That way, it kind of takes the pressure off us to know all the stuff going on. There's always going to be hiking. There's always going to be, like, we have Mesa Falls hikes. We have Yellowstone. I mean, there's so much stuff going on in Yellowstone. It's just hard to say, oh, go check out Yellowstone, right? Because you tell a guest that, the first thing that's going to happen, they're going to get stuck in a traffic jam in the West Yellowstone gate, and they're going to be like, this sucks. So you can always say, hey, if you're going to go to West Yellowstone, check out these times. Go here. You want to see moose, right? We have a lot of locals that, our cleaners, our maintenance team, our on-site property managers, they're outdoor people too, right? So they'll say, oh, we know that there's a family of moose living down, at this creek, and you can see it from the road. And so we'll tell people, like, hey, just so you know, if you're looking for wildlife, there's eagles on the Snake River. If you go here, you can see a family of moose. If you hit it right about sunup or maybe sundown, they're always out in the willows eating. and it totally makes an experience out of their world, right? So you think about people who've never seen a moose before. Obviously, preface with don't get out of the car. Don't try to pet them. Right? It's a Yellowstone thing apparently. But don't get out of the car. Don't spook the animals. But here's where you can see just creating that experience of the outdoors, because one of the mistakes that I see, John, and I don't know how often this happens to you guys, we always make the assumption that people want to go do stuff outdoors. They're like, oh, hiking right up here, right? And then I've got this, I got a lady on the phone and she's like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, my husband's fly fishing. Him and his buddies are here. What am I supposed to do?
What do you got for me?
And I'm like, oh, just so you know, I can look online and I can find you. There's yoga sessions here if you're into yoga. Like, what are you into? Like, tell me what you like.
Right.
It gives a concierge type feel, and it really provides that experience, and it helps with the property manager. I mean, literally, it's one of the things I found get lost between somebody who's like a DIYer. Maybe they live next door and they're talking face to face with someone. That interaction is the strength of being a DIYer, right? You have the control of that relationship in your hands, where sometimes when you're a property manager, you don't necessarily have that. So those are just some of the things that we do.
Interesting.
Dana, what do you do?
Well, SEO has been a part of our front and center as a business since day one. So definitely lots of posting, lots of blog posts, anything new coming up. We cater to outdoors people, and also, families with little kids. Where do you go to do this, that, and the other? So a lot of those, and obviously they make it to the newsletters. So even before guests even book, they get that information, or potential guests, I should say. Social media, snow's here. Tahoe got 8 feet of snow coming up. It's I find social media be a better outlet for that. So instant news, things that are happening in the area when they're happening. People love that part. What else? Yeah, just keeping them informed. And obviously, as Jamie said, once they're in house, then again, helping them plan and answering questions as far as where to go, what to do. One other thing is we try to work with local businesses. So Palisades, Tahoe discounts to our guests. So we offer them, we let guests know, hey, book with us and you can get 10% discount for the lift tickets, or book with us and the concierge company that brings boots and skis right to your door will give you a discount as well. So trying to form those relationships as well, that helps, because it might incentivize a guest to book with you opposed to the other guy. So that's about all.
No, that's a great point. And that nobody sees this data. Let me know if this is true. But if you have some of those relationships in place, like our Park City place, like we have, I think it's 20% off rentals, right? So you think about a family, they might have spent, I don't know, $600-700 a night on that room. After they rent equipment, I mean, they could be putting $1,000, depending on how big the family is, right? And what kind of equipment they rent.
Right.
But that discount could effectively offset, the cost of their vacation by quite a bit. I mean, that's kind of a big thing, right?
Right. It helps. It definitely helps.
That's cool. Well, all right, you guys. I think we need to wrap. We're a little bit over our time that we normally schedule for this. We try to keep it around 30 minutes, and then I got yapping. So thanks, everyone, for joining. We appreciate it. One thing I do want to throw out there while our guests are here, as I'm thanking them, and thanking anyone for tuning in. Again, if you have topics, if you have thoughts, if you'd like to be on the show, please just reach out to us. And you can do that by reaching out through our VRNation.com. You can either subscribe and like to our YouTube channel, and you can leave comments on that. Any of our social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, we're trying to really get out there. And again, and everybody on the call, we really would like people to join and come to our conference in Austin, Texas. It is an awesome time. I have been to 2 conferences with VRNation so far, and for the best conferences, hands down, mainly because I get to meet some absolutely terrific people and I've learned more in the VRNation conferences than I have just sitting at my desk. So that's my pump for the conference. You guys are good to go. Thanks again for joining us. And then from VRNation Station, we'll be signing out. So we'll cue the music.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome y'all to the VRNation Station. We're diving deep into vacation rental sensations. From management tips to the latest creation, join us each week for some sparkle and conversation. VRNation Station, tune in and feel the thrill.